Hey guys, today's topic is the God problem in recovery. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that uh, from a therapist's perspective and from just a human being's personal perspective, and how we deal with that, how that interferes with someone progressing in treatment who is probably or perhaps agnostic or atheist at the core of their being and don't really haven't had any introduction to the concept of God. Uh, as many therapists know, a lot of institutions that receive money from the state or from the federal government are are, are uh, kept from bringing God into the picture, merging religion and church and state. So, aside from that, I just want to talk to you about the problem with not believing in God or using God in the treatment environment to try to motivate someone to change. Well, it's no secret that throughout history that wars have been fought and people have died over the idea of religion and their faith. That is, and still goes on today. So the purpose of this video again, guys, is not to try to espouse to one or the other in terms of beliefs. The purpose of this is to open up your mind to the potential possibility that maybe there's something greater than ourselves and we just don't know what it is. So, I think that the argument of having God in treatment in the parameters of the state's perspective, saying, okay, don't do this because that's interference with rights of others and their belief. Well, we get around that a lot there in treatment by using this thing called good, orderly direction. I use that constantly in my life and in my examples. My personal belief is that there is a God. And I use this thing about good, orderly direction in your life. And it doesn't matter if you're an atheist or agnostic or if you are an avowed Christian or whatever religious belief or spiritual background you may have. Having a good, orderly direction in your life it just seems like a universal common goal for the betterment of man. So, in my mind, that's how I get around this argument about is there God? So the God problem, let's get back to it. I want to propose to you a suggestion that you consider. Now, I know there's a lot of smart folks out there, and I'm definitely not one of them. I know enough to be confused about things, but I want to propose an example to you. Let's just take this story. Two fellows are talking about God. One of them's a neuroscientist and real educated and by the world standards. And he's an agnostic or an atheist at this point. So the other fellow is talking to him, and he says, imagine a circle. And I hope that there's a circle coming up on my screen when I do this. Imagine a circle. Now, that circle represents the universe, everything that the universe contains, all in this, the cataclysmic universe is in this circle. All knowledge, all understanding, in the universe. Now, giving you a smart fellow, you're a doctor. How much of that circle, with all your knowledge and all your learning, would you say that that circle contains? Where would it be? And he does this little tiny portion right there. Okay, maybe that. So maybe he's really not narcissistic and understands that he doesn't know all the everything about the universe. So a little bit. And the guy says, can you see that what you are showing me there that is your knowledge leaves a whole lot of unexplained things in the universe that is beyond the scope of our knowledge. People all the time have near-death experiences. I've never known anybody to come back from the cemetery and sit up there and say this is what went on, but there's countless near-death experiences, and I was dead for 5 minutes, I was dead for whatever time, and people come back and they express their experiences and share them during that time. Now, I don't know, I ain't never been there, I can't say. But what I know is this. In my active addiction, there was faith. I acted on faith numerous times. Now you might say, what do you mean? How did you act on faith? Well, I had faith in the fact that if I got up and got in my car and drove through the ditches to get to the liquor store, I'd get me some more whiskey. And when I drank that whiskey, I would get that feeling that I wanted from that whiskey. I had faith in my drug to do for me that which I couldn't do for myself. So I want to suggest to you that faith is a huge, huge part in understanding that of the things that we do not. In fact, I would propose that it's a gateway. Obviously, there are many levels that we function on. We here function at a basic, rudimentary level. We get out, we eat, we sleep, we do whatever we do during our day. This is the worldly domain. But when we go to sleep and we go to another plateau or dream state or whatever, the Indians call it higher planes of consciousness. There are all kinds of explanations for what goes on. But whether it's having a higher level of conscience or whether it's just understanding that in our finite understanding, we can't possibly have all the answers and know all that there is to know. I mean, we just can't do it. In fact, I think if I took what I knew and I turned it into gasoline, it probably wouldn't be enough to crank up a 15-inch motorcycle. So I'm open to the notion that my limited understanding of things doesn't necessarily mean that those things do not exist. I feel the breeze blowing on me. I don't see the wind. I feel it. I know it's there. It's coming out of the fan right now. I don't see it. I can't touch it. I can't, it's not a concrete thing that I can hold on to, but I know it's there. The same principle should be considered in your life when it comes to the idea of God. I mean, it's just crazy to me to look around this world and see all the beauty of the world, even amongst all the horrors in the world, the beauty of creation. and not believe that there was a master designer for this world that we live in. I just don't believe that happenstance is how we got here, and that the thing about the monkeys and us coming from the tadpole monkeys, that's what it taught us in school, the evolution, theory of evolution. I just don't believe that that explains everything in this universe and in this world as we know it. I do believe that there's a God that existed. I want you to consider being open to the possibility that just maybe, there is something out there that you don't understand. And just by accepting the fact that you don't understand these things opens you up to the idea of learning and seeking knowledge about God. To me, whether you want to call it quantum physics or what you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, to me, all I know is that there's a higher power in this universe that looks over me and protects me and gives me enough common sense to keep myself out of trouble. Now, I don't know if that goes back to the good orderly direction. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But that's what I would suggest as an alternative to those who have issues about whether or not God exists, and or question themselves about whether or not God exists. I think the questioning is probably a good place to start, because once you start to question, you start to open up and look for answers. That is not a very scientific explanation, but it's a good common sense explanation that I would encourage you to think about and give it a little time in your life. What can it do for you? If you are one of those that have concerns and issues about whether or not there is a master creator in the universe or God, or whether or not you choose to implement good orderly direction in your life. So, thank you for listening to the little spat here about God and the universe, and I hope that it's helpful and gives you some kind of idea about being open to the possibility that something might exist beyond ourselves, just because we don't know about it. Just like, again, quantum physics, the scientists have discovered quantum physics. Just because we didn't know about it doesn't mean that it didn't exist. We're just now learning about it. Not knowing how your vehicle runs, just because we don't understand the mechanics of how an engine might run, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Indeed it does, because a vehicle runs, and it runs based on mechanical principles that are pretty much beyond my comprehension. So just be mindful of the possibility that perhaps there is something more than what we think. And if this video challenged you to think about other possibilities, please like and subscribe to the channel. I look forward to hearing for your input on this topic. Thank you.